Hey guys, Speedoz here, and today I bring you a new video about a build that many people requested for the past few leagues, which is a CoC Ice Nova Assassin. But before getting into the build, I think it's very important to understand how the breakpoints concept with the server tick rates work whenever you're going to make a CoC build. Okay, so let's get into it. I'll leave in the video's description this Reddit post, which helped me a lot to understand the limitations about the server and how the cooldown works with the attack speed that your build should have. Otherwise, you will lose a lot of DPS. Okay, so basically, the CoC gem and CoC Analysis have a cooldown of 150 milliseconds, which in a perfect world you would have in a 1 millisecond, which is 1 second. You have a 150 millisecond cooldown. You would then need a 6.66 attack speed per second in order to maximize your build. But in the real world, it doesn't work like that. The server has limitations. It works as server ticks, or ticks as he says, and every 33 seconds, the server makes the calculations regarding the cooldown stuff. Okay, so every 33 milliseconds, it will keep calculating, and you will see that after 5 server ticks, it will have it will enable the gems to be cast after your critical strike. Okay, so instead of the regular 150 milliseconds, your real cooldown will be 165, which in 1 second means a 6.006 attacks per second breakpoint, which is the first breakpoint actually. So between 0% cooldown recovery speed and the next breakpoint, it won't make any difference to add any cooldown recovery speed, because the server only calculates and only enables the build to cast once again if you decrease 1 server tick. So in 5 server ticks, you have a 65 cooldown, 165, right, milliseconds for your cooldown. So in order to improve your build, you want to decrease 1 server tick. So it will have to be with under 4 server ticks, which is 132 milliseconds, and as he says, this is equal to 14 increased cooldown recovery speed on your gear, which is the first breakpoint. Okay, So if you calculate 1000 milliseconds divided by 132, you will have the 7.57 attack speed per second, which is the first breakpoint of your build. Your build shouldn't have more than this attack speed, or otherwise it will have its DPS decreased by a lot. The next breakpoint, thanks to the Awaken Cast on Crit gem, is the 52% increased cooldown recovery speed. Why? Because once again, you want to decrease one server tick rate. So previously the first breakpoint was 4 server ticks. Now, decreasing 1 server tick, you will have 3 server ticks, which is 99 milliseconds. So dividing 1000 by 99, you will have 10.10 attack speed per second. This is the third breakpoint. As you can see here, there is a table. Basically, you can read this post as many times as you want, or watch this video as many times as you want in order to understand this. But in short, this means that if you have between 0 and 14 increased cooldown recovery speed, you will have a maximum triggers per second of 6.06, which equals a 6.06 attack speed per second. You're not allowed to have more than this, otherwise you'll have your DPS decreased by a lot. After reaching the first breakpoint, any cooldown recovery that you have between 14 and 52% doesn't matter, because it is a server limitation, and you can't do anything about it. All you can do is respect the limitation and then have the maximum attack speed allowed, which is 7.57 attack speed in the first breakpoint. And the last breakpoint, whenever you have 52% increased cooldown recovery speed, which comes from the Awaken CoC gem, a mod on your belt, and another mod on your boots, this will enable you to get up to 10.10 triggers per second, which means 10.10 attacks per second at maximum. Okay, if you have more than that at the last breakpoint, you lose DPS, as it says on this post. Okay, I'll leave that on the video's description, so then you can understand that more thoroughly if you want. But that's the main thing that you should know before making any custom crit build. Okay, this is very important for you to understand. So getting now into the build, we've reached level 96. For the Pantheon, I've got the Lunaris and the Ebrath because of the fire damage taken, but you can also get Grufko if you feel like to. Pantheon is really personal. For the Bandits, I've helped Lyra for the critical strike multiplier and the resists. For the Ascendancy, first of all, unstable infusion and then deadly infusion. If you're leveling your character with cast on crit Ice Nova, you will notice a big DPS increase as soon as you get the deadly infusion, because it will give you crit chance while at maximum power charges, and this affects your base crit chance, which is very nice, and thus you will crit a lot more often. Then you can get the opportunistic, which helps you with the movement speed, with more damage against bosses. And the last of all, you will have the Mistwalker, which is the elusive property, defensive properties such as dodge and movement speed, but it has increased attack speed, which helps us to build attack speed and get as close as possible to the last breakpoint of the build. Okay. Talking about the jewels, we have a Frozen Trail, which you can get in the Act 5, and this, while with at least 40 intelligence, it allows the Frostbolt fires 2 additional projectiles, which is very nice for our DPS increase. Then we have a Thread of Hope jewel with a very large ring in order to get those nodes here, which basically are about increased damage, stats, increased attack speed and global accuracy, and this one gives us some maximum energy shield. Then we can also get the glancing blows, save a lot of points instead of going all the way down here. And basically what glancing blows does is doubling our chance to block attack and spell damage while taking 50% of the damage from blocked hits. At the end of the day, this helps us mitigate our damage in a better way, okay? Also, we have a Militant Faith Timeless Duel. This helps us build more damage because it will transform this Annointment here or any keystone in radius in the Inner Conviction node, which gives us 3% more spell damage per power charge. And this tree, you'll be able to see that we get basically energy shield, some stats in order to get the to be able to wear the CoC Prismalis sword, and also stack the power charges, as you can see here, here, and here. Okay. Another jewel that is very important and very useful to the build is the Watcher's Eye with the energy shield gained for each enemy hit while affected by discipline, because we hit a ton of times while mapping and while bossing. So this basically feels like the previous, the old Vol Pact mechanic. If you have played the PoE back in the day where we had the Vol Pact, it basically feels like an instant leech. Very, very nice for the build regarding survivability. And also, if you can have the gain flask charge when you deal a critical strike while affected by precision. This will help you out with the flask charges against bosses, for example. But it clearly is not needed. For the cluster jewels, before that, we also have a regular jewel here, which helped us a lot with the increased attack speed in order to get as close as possible to the last breakpoint. So increased attack speed while holding a shield, and also with swords. In total, 16% in one node, basically. Increased attack speed. Large cluster jewel, 8 passive skills, increased cold damage, and blanketed snow, prismatic hard, and widespread destruction. You can also craft this jewel in harvest if you have the time by using a prismatic fossil, for example, and then getting the remove and add cold until you reach the blanketed snow. Blanketed snow helps us penetrate 10% of cold resistance against shield enemies, prismatic hard, elemental res with increased elemental damage, and widespread destruction with increased AoE and increased elemental damage. The other two medium cluster jewels have at maximum 5 passive skills with magnifier and vast power, as you can see. The vast power is very nice because it gives us some area damage, but also a lot of increased AoE per power charge. Since we have 2, we have 6% per power charge. We have 8 power charges on our tree, as you can see here, which means a 48%, 6 times 8, 48%, yeah, 48% increased AoE in total just with these 2 nodes, so very nice. Talking about small cluster jewels, we have 2 of them with 2 passive points, 2 passive skills with energy from Naught. Energy from Naught is very good for our energy shield scaling. As you can see here, 1 single jewel adds 500 ES, which is a lot, right? Okay, so talking about the gear, we have a CoC Prismalis. This is a word that I also talked about while speaking about the breakpoints and the server tick rates. The CoC Prismalis has the same cooldown of 150 milliseconds, and it triggers a socked cold spell on melee critical strike. So we critical strike with this cyclone, and then we'll trigger all the cold spells socked in this word, which are Ice Nova, Frostbolt, and Frostbomb. The modifiers that you're going to be looking here are the cold damage to spells, and you gotta balance the increased attack speed in order to work out the breakpoint that you chose for your build. So in my case, I needed as much attack speed as possible, so I enchanted this weapon with the 3.11 harvest mechanic, which made the quality does not increase physical damage, it increased 1% increase attack speed per 8 quality, so I needed at least 24. Why not just put it into the bestiary mechanic and then got it up to 30%, right? So I did that, and then I was ready to benefit from the increased attack speed per 8 quality. The helmet here and the rest of the gear, you will see that they are a little bit OP considering the regular crafting mechanics that we are used to in Path of Exile, but in 3.11 it was very easy to craft all of them. So basically this gear is a gear that you should aim for while min-maxing your build. I chose a Hubris with the Hatred reduced mana reservation because this enchantment was costing 3 exalts instead of the 30 exalts that people were asking for the increased Ice Nova damage, which in my opinion it's not worth it. It doesn't really add that much damage, and it's not worth it to pay 10 times more literally for an enchantment that it's not really game breaking, in my opinion. Okay, if you want the damage, surely go for it, but what you should aim for in this helmet is a very nice roll of accuracy rating with nearby enemies have minus cold rest. You can get as much energy shield as possible, as well as global critical strike multiplier and maximum power charges if you can. For the shield, we are using a titanium spirit shield with socket gems, reduced mana reservation, 9% chance to block spell damage. You would rather get a 12% if you can. I couldn't get a tier 1 at the end of the day. 3% with glancing blows will mean 6% on top of your build. So really aim for a tier 1 chance to block spell damage right there. You also want the recovery energy shield percentage when you block, and the rest is basically RNG based or whatever currency you can have to buy one, right? So as much energy shield as possible and +1 cold spell skill gems. I have a video where I teach to craft this shield on my YouTube channel. You can look for that. Unfortunately, it's in Portuguese audio, but I also use PowerPoint slides where I wrote all this stuff in English, so I think you'll be able to follow up if you're looking for it. Okay, the amulet is a agate amulet because of the stats that required for the build, so strength and dex. But what you should be looking for are the accuracy rating, the global critical strike, the damage pen, and if you can, +1 cold skill gems. Sorry, and also if you can craft the increased maximum energy shield. For the rings, I chose a Circle of Fear because I'm using a Heart of Ice on a 3 link to help out with the clear. So Heart of Ice has reduced mana reservation and increased cold damage while affected by Heart of Ice. The implicit right there isn't really necessary. It's just good to have some increased damage. So I managed to get one. And also the other ring is a opal ring. You can also get a resistance one if you need. But the main stats here that are important are the spell damage, the assassin's mark on hit. I also would change that cold damage modifier down there for a cold damage 2 spells. And if you can or if you need, you can also get some accuracy on this ring as well. For the belt, for the chest, sorry, we've chose a Awakener Orb craft with additional curse and explode with energy shield and resist. If you can also get a attacks have crit chance if you don't have any trouble with your resists. You might want to change the Circle of Fear for another resist ring in order to get the attacks have crit chance, since this modifier is a suffix and it occupies one of the resistance modifiers right there. For the gloves, you want to get a Fingers Silk Gloves for the increased spell damage on the implicit. You want to look for a high accuracy rating roll. Also with the resistance and the chance to unnerve if you can, increase the damage with hits against shield enemies, which is a temple mod, so you rather buy or if you have the enough RNG to drop one. I crafted the increase the damage during any flask effect, which was also good. For the belt, a crystal belt with plenty of energy shield, percentage of increased maximum energy shield, increase the damage with hits against shield enemies, or increase its spell damage during any flask effects. And also, if you're looking for the last breakpoint, you should aim for the increased cooldown recovery speed mandatorily, because you'll need all the 3 pieces of gear with increased cooldown recovery speed in order to reach the 52% increased cooldown. As well as in the boots, increased cooldown recovery speed if you're looking for the last breakpoint, with movement speed, tailwind, resist, energy shield. I also crafted the cannot be frozen, so we don't need a flask for it. Talking about the flasks, we have a bottle of faith in order to help us crit. We have a diamond flask with the increased critical strike chance during flask effect. Once again, I only have this crafted mod right there because I don't have attack have crit chance or a Watcher's Eye with attack have crit chance, so I had to craft this one. This craft comes from the Cinder Swallow Unveiling from the Betrayal. You also want a Wise Oak penetrating 50% resist of your highest resistance, which is cold res in our case, so make sure your cold resistance is the highest. I also have a Cinder Swallow with chance to avoid being stunned. The Cinder Swallow helps with the survivability when mapping, but it really isn't necessary. What is necessary is to have the 50% chance to avoid being stunned. And also a Quicksilver with bleeding, because I don't have a Corrupted Blood Jewel, so I chose this modifier. If you can handle with the bleeding already, you can also use, for example, an Alchemist Quicksilver of Adrenaline or just a Azurius Promise. It will help you out with the damage as well. Mandatory gems on your CoC Malice: Ice Nova, Frostbolt, and Frostbomb. Mandatory gems on your shield are Hatred, Vault Discipline, and Enlighten. Your another 4 link here is the Vortex with Culling Strike, Frostbite, and Curse on hits. We also have the Dash with Second Wind, Arcane Surge, and the Val Righteous Fire. You can swap the Val Righteous Fire with a Portal Gem if you feel like you need one. I personally enjoy mapping with the Portal Gem, and with this gear I don't really need a Val RF. It's just for showcase basically, or handling 100% Delirium maps, so it's really up to you. We have a 3-link Herald of Ice with increased critical strikes and increased AoE. And it's very important that you don't link with Precision, otherwise Precision will reserve more mana than it's intended. So level 20 Precision on a single socket right there. And also Cyclone with Awaken CoC with Awaken added cold damage at level 5, so you can add 1 level to supported cold skill gems, which is Ice Nova right there, Inspiration, and Hypothermia. So how do you play this build? You can position your Vortex on your left button of your mouse, so you'll be casting Vortex all the time. With that much increased cooldown recovery speed, it is pretty smooth to play. It will curse on hits with the Frostbite and also Culling Strike it. Sorry. And if you notice on the clips, you can also see that we have enough damage to crit with the Vortex hit to trigger the Ice Nova, and this Ice Nova will basically explode, which will make this build feel like an auto bomber. So it is very fun to play as well like this. Your dash will proc your Arcane Surge, so you can use it between packs or right before fighting a boss. I also didn't choose a Vol Ice Nova because you have to stop in order to cast the Vol Ice Nova, and we have already plenty of movement speed, plenty of clear, so we don't actually need a Vol Ice Nova. And also it didn't work very well at Legions. One scenario that I think it will be the best way to use and take advantage of the Vol Ice Nova. So it will also get in the way of recharging the Vol Discipline, the Vol Righteous Fire, so I chose Ice Nova right there. And whenever you need, you will basically pop up your Flasks and then Cyclone, so you can trigger all those spells, which are the Ice Nova, sorry, the Frostbolt, the Frostbomb, and also your Ice Nova from your CoC. Once again, it is very important to choose when you're building your character which breakpoint you're gonna go for. So either 14%, which will only require a single piece of gear with increased cooldown recovery speed, could it be the bell, could it be the boots, or could it be the Awakener cast on crits, or you could go for the last breakpoint, which we went for this build, and then this requires the Awaken CoC and the increased cooldown recovery speed modifiers on our belt and on our boots in order to reach the 52% increased cooldown recovery speed. Okay, so overall speaking, I really enjoyed this build. One of the most satisfying builds I've played in the whole Path Exile since I started playing, which was back in 2013. It has a very outstanding clear. It is good against bosses. It can clear the 100% Delirium with ease. It has plenty of energy shield in my opinion. It is almost max block. I think you guys can find a way of getting the 75 by 75 attack and spell block with glancing blows. Glancing blows also very nice mitigation. Watcher's Eye, plenty of survivability as well. So really nice build. It is worth the investment in my opinion. In the 3.11 Harvest League, I spent around 70 exalts crafting the gear. I'm sure that in any other league it will cost much more than that with all those expensive and nice gear. But you surely can play this build with very less investment. And also with the Flasks and with the jewels, including the Watcher's Eye, I think I spent no more than 95 exalts. So considering all the benefits from the build, I think it's really worth the investment. Okay, it's more like a build for you to play and progress through the whole league, through the whole 3 months period, so you can enjoy your progress and enjoy what this build is capable of doing. So I hope you guys enjoyed the concept of enjoyed and understood the concept of the breakpoint stuff and how the server tick rates work and how it interacts with the cooldown recovery speed from your character. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you very much for watching and see you next time. É tanto Vortex que às vezes parece que não dá pra ver a fight direito. Just need a moment to catch my breath. Lembrar de carregar um pouco o Inspiration e dar o dashzinho pro Arcane Surge antes de dar um engage no cara. Nice. Tadinha. O mais importante aí nessas primeiras fases é ativar uma vez o Bottle of Faith e o Diamond Flask, porque daí sua chance de crítico vai lá em cima. E o dano é mais que o suficiente para acabar com a fase. Agora dá para ativar todos.